Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center. We are still in this active weather pattern that we've had through most of the week. In fact, today, more afternoon thunderstorms are expected. That's even after some light showers earlier and a dip in temperatures. We're still running warm and a little below average for this time of the year, but the next couple of days we see a shift in the weather pattern. Friday, almost flipping the weather switch, going from an active pattern to a chance for a few isolated thunderstorms. So we're about to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast, look at what's been happening through the day, what's going to happen, and how that's going to impact us across Central Oregon and through our Tri-County area. As of right now, it is partly to mostly cloudy. There have been a few showers still showing up on radar, and just to backtrack a little bit, through the morning hours, we had some light showers rolling through. Not too much in the way of lightning strikes. I know the counter up here does say 85, but if we go ahead and move the camera just a little bit, we see that most of those lightning strikes are going to be well off towards the east and the northeastern corner of the state. In fact, when we look back a little bit further, we see that here in and around Central Oregon in the last 24 hours, it's a little under 1,000 lightning strikes, and most of that happened yesterday evening as more thunderstorms worked their way north from Klamath and Lake counties into parts of the Tri-County area. There were some thunderstorms around Lapine and Sun River earlier in the day that were impacting us through the afternoon and the evening hours. But today, we've seen that shift in the weather pattern. And what I mean is we had some clearing, and that's why we have partly cloudy to mostly cloudy conditions right now, and that in and out cloud cover, those periods of midday clearing, opened up the door for even warm temperatures once again. Not as hot as we've had the last couple of days, but still near and a little below average for this time of the year. Where we've had more abundant sunshine, there's a differential heating, so it's heating up there a little bit quicker than where we've been buried under clouds and still getting some sprinkles working their way north through the Tri-County area. But right now, over the high desert doesn't look too active. That's as of 2:33 when this was recorded. But if we go ahead and pan this camera south and just look at what's happening over Klamath, Lake counties, and the Cascades of southern Oregon, that's where we already have a lot of activity, a lot of thunderstorms that have already started to develop. And through the next several hours, more development is expected further to the north, so over Central Oregon, and some of this works its way north as well. Notice they're not moving very fast, but the direction of travel is gradually to the north, almost propagating to the north as well. So this is what we're going to be tracking here through the rest of this afternoon and this evening, but as of right now, not too bad over the high desert. Now, because of this chance of thunderstorm activity through the afternoon, the evening, and into the overnight hours, the National Weather Service has issued a series of weather alerts. And first, I want to talk about the red flag warning, because as I was talking about yesterday, they were extended in time. In fact, a new one was issued until 11 p.m. this evening. Now, on top of that, the National Weather Service has also issued a flash flood watch. Now, this watch is most specifically for burn scars during the last couple of years, where that the remnants of those fires are still there. It's pretty loose, and where we have some thunderstorm activity pushing across burn scars, it could in fact bring us some flash flooding, especially when some of these slow-moving thunderstorms train over parts of the Tri-County area, and that means moving over the same track, they're going to be dumping a lot more rain. And I was doing some of the math earlier today, and we could be looking at the potential for some of those storms to have an inch per hour. Now, it's not going to be widespread like that. That would be definitely good news for any agriculturalists or anybody who has a garden if we had widespread rain across the high desert. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at some of these cells capable of producing those elevated rainfall rates. But for the most part right now, we haven't seen too much of that at all over the high desert. A few more sprinkles. It's going to be late in the afternoon going through the evening that we really start to see this impacting parts of the Tri-County area. And with this, some of these cells are going to be capable of producing abundant lightning strikes and gusty outflows. Remember, the outflow is as the rain falls out of the cloud, you're pushing a lot of air closer to the surface, and when you start to see that air air spread out along the surface, that's an outflow. Some of those outflows could have wind gusts above 35 miles per hour. We're talking 45 to 60 mile per hour gusts, not out of the question. Of course, that's not going to be for everybody, but like yesterday evening, gusty conditions are expected once those outflows catch up with us. Now, one more look at satellite and radar, and there is a low over the eastern Oregon that's pushing to the north. It's the same low we've been tracking the last couple of days, and this is what's triggering this potential of thunderstorm activity over the high desert, south central Oregon, through the Cascades, and even as far south as northern California and Nevada. At the moment, we haven't seen too much in the way of activity, but it's just a matter of time. Just to zoom in one more time to look at this for you, we do have some thunderstorms over Klamath and Lake counties, and some of that propagation, some of that building, some of that development is going to work its way into the high desert as well. Looking at the bigger picture, we have this low that's sitting over the Pacific Northwest at the moment. Further out over the Pacific Ocean, first starting off in the Gulf of Alaska, there's what we call a closed low. It's not a part of the general flow where the jet stream usually drives the forecast pattern. It's just chilling out over the Gulf of Alaska and northern Pacific Ocean. That's going to stay put, but it is going to bring us some waves of moisture. You can see one of them that's already developing that is going to roll this way, and that pattern just continues where it throws waves of moisture our way. There's also a ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean, and when we look a little bit further off towards the east, there's another high over the Four Corners region, actually more further to the west than it was yesterday. That high is bringing us a thermal advection, the warming temperatures we're expecting through the next couple of days, but we keep a plume of moisture that's coming in from the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to back out just a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. If you look at the top left corner of where the camera is, so right about here, and then, or top right corner, I should say, it's my left. But if you follow this line, this is one of the waves of moisture from that closed low. That's a plume of monsoonal moisture coming into the Pacific Northwest. Now, monsoonal is a generic term, and what that means is just warm, moist air that's coming in overhead. Surface humidity values are still extremely dry. Add in that moisture to the heat that we've been experiencing and the warmth that we have today, and convection is expected. And convection is exactly what we've been seeing these last couple of hours, mostly over south central Oregon and further off to the east. This development is going to continue through the next couple of hours. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about our high-resolution forecast model. And this starts at 7 o'clock, so I'm going to do us a favor. I'm going to reset the time to right now, local when played. And when we go ahead and look at it, it shows that here during this hour, some convection was expected to start up over the high desert, and then thunderstorms work their way through the Tri-County area. Let's back up. Let's look at our satellite and radar. And we do have a little bit of convection. We don't have, per se, thunderstorm cells right now over the high desert, but at the end of this loop, there are a couple of clouds that are already starting to develop, and there are some showers from a little bit of this development just to the west of Sun River. Most of our moisture has already pushed off to the north or fizzled out. These clouds right here along the 97 corridor in southern Deschutes County and a little bit over Crook County, those are the ones we're currently tracking as far as convection, afternoon thunderstorm development. And I'm going to look at it in a little bit different view. This is enhanced infrared satellite imagery with a color correction that really pulls out where we have some of those tall clouds. And of course, I have to zoom back in. And most of the convection is indeed to our south, over south central Oregon. But there are a few cells that are starting to develop a little closer to home. Those are the ones we're tracking. So already we're seeing that this forecast model is a little off because it shows that convection a little earlier in the day. That abundant cloud cover mixed with the early showers earlier today slowed this down, but it didn't stop it completely. Now, thunderstorms are expected this afternoon, and they're going to be slow movers. So when they start to hit an area, they're going to stick with you for a little bit. By 11 o'clock, some lingering sprinkles that stay with us into the overnight hours, but also we start to clear out. By Friday, we start the day with more sunshine than clouds. And by the afternoon, some thunderstorms are going to be possible, but look at that. It's a lot less widespread than what we're seeing today in the forecast model guidance. And I think this is going to verify where we're looking at the potential for a few cells developing and pushing through parts of the high desert. Outside of that, a couple sprinkles are possible, and we see that same pattern impact us again on Saturday. By 8 a.m., mostly clear. By the afternoon, a few cells developing. And when I say cells, I'm talking about thunderstorm cells specifically. And it doesn't look like Friday and Saturday is going to bring as much of an impact as what we're expecting today. But what we can expect is a few stray thunderstorms pushing through. Meanwhile, when we look at the moisture content in the atmosphere, it is a little bit elevated from what we've been seeing. Typically this time of the year, we're in the teens, 20s, maybe a few single digits on the map. But relative humidity is sitting in the 20s, 30s, and 45% in La Pine. So it is a little bit more moist in the air. Almost noticeable to where you can feel a little bit of that humidity across parts of the high desert. And remember, humidity, high dew points, high humidity values, that equals thunderstorm fuel. So the more this stays elevated, the more we are indeed looking at that potential of thunderstorm activity this afternoon. Now let's talk temperatures. In the last 24 hours, 80s, 90s, and some 70s on the map. A lot of those are holdovers from yesterday. Holdovers from yesterday, and right now we're sitting in the 80s and 70s through our Tri-County area. This is indicative of a big drop in temperatures, and right now we're running between 3 and 13 degrees cooler than we were just 24 hours ago. That cool down is helpful, but it's still a little humid. We still have moderate humidity values, and we still have warm temperatures through the Tri-County area. Now through tonight, we get a little bit cooler. It's not just going to be mild. Temperatures fall back through the 60s into the 50s. Few 60s and 40s are going to be possible, and by tomorrow, mid-80s for highs once again. Also, starting on Friday, we're back to the elevated UV intensity and UVI or ultraviolet index is going to be up towards 8 or 9, and that is very high. And the highest UVI is going to be during the morning and midday hours. By the afternoon, where we start to see some of that thunderstorm development, there are going to be more clouds, not as bad, but we still have a chance of lightning and dry lightning through Friday and Saturday. Notice Sunday we get a bigger dip in the UVI, the UV intensity forecast, and that's because of our next system. That next system is going to bring more rain. It will bring more thunderstorm activity, and it will be pushing through on Sunday. Here's how this plays out. Between now and then, a few afternoon isolated thunderstorms, still very warm. Our low will at this time be rolling into Canada, and we don't quite get into a zonal flow, but we are expecting some afternoon thunderstorms potentially. Fast forward to Saturday, and that doesn't change much, but then we turn our attention to this low that's just above my head in this camera. That's going to roll in, and that's going to be the next system to impact us on the high desert Sunday with afternoon and evening thunderstorms once again, similar to what we're looking at today. So roller coaster temperatures are expected. We rebound Friday and Saturday, mid to upper 80s, closer to average for this time of the year, but with Sunday's system, another dip in temperatures knocks us back into the lower 80s and mid to upper 70s by Monday, and that cool down is going to put us well below the average high of 89 degrees. So let's time this out. Let's look at a forecast model. I'm not going to take it slow with this one like I did with the high resolution model, but we do have this low that's pushing to the north, bringing us a chance of thunderstorms. Lingering showers possible tonight before clearing. By Friday, we start off a little cooler and mostly clear, and then some afternoon thunderstorms are going to be possible. Remember, these are isolated. An isolated thunderstorm or two is expected again on Saturday, and then by Sunday the next system rolls in. That brings scattered showers, some thunderstorms, and when we look past Sunday, taking the long-range forecast model, the GFS, it shows that Sunday night more clouds start to thin out. By Monday, more sunshine. By Tuesday, in and out cover early, then more sunshine, no precipitation in sight. So notice through the first week of August, we are going to get back into a typical summertime pattern of some clouds, no precipitation, and winds becoming breezy at times, but we still have an active pattern before we get there. Between now and tomorrow at 7 a.m., most of us will have gotten wet. That's this afternoon thunderstorm activity that we're expecting. Right now it's developing over south central Oregon. It should be pushing north during the next couple of hours. Friday afternoon, few additional showers, maybe a couple thunderstorms, and the same thing happens on Saturday. By Sunday at 11 p.m., most of us will be wet. Now, a lot of this happens today, but we still have that next system rolling through on Sunday. So winds, gusts right now aren't too bad. Gusts alone are between 10 and 20 miles per hour coming out of the north. Actual wind speeds 5 to 15 miles per hour. Some spots a little bit stronger winds than others. Later this afternoon and evening, wind speeds tick up a little bit, bringing us into that breezy range momentarily, and then back to a light breeze overnight. Friday, same thing. During the afternoon, winds get a little breezy at times, and we'll repeat that again on Sunday. So for tonight, 50s, a few 40s, couple 60s expected, some lingering light showers before we start to clear out during the AM hours, and then by Friday, 80s, some 90s, and a few afternoon thunderstorms will be possible. These roller coaster temperatures continue. The bottom of the roller coaster, the coolest days are going to be Sunday and Monday. Even with that chance of thunderstorms, our temperatures are dropping back into the lower to mid 80s and then mid to upper 70s by Tuesday. Once we really start to see a lot more sunshine and no chance of precipitation or thunderstorms, we see those temperatures really start to crank up. So a recap for you, your weather headlines for this Thursday, July the 31st. Warm today, more PM storms are expected. It's not going to be super widespread like we were thinking with earlier forecast model guidance, but we are looking at scattered thunderstorms in the forecast. We have a pair of weather alerts, a red flag warning and a flash flood watch. A flash flood watch mostly hones in on burn scars and the potential of some slow-moving thunderstorms to train over those areas, but by Friday we're flipping the forecast switch and we see a change up in our weather pattern. Few storms are expected, temperatures warm back up, and we're back into a not as active weather pattern, but still pretty unsettled. Now today, the latest drought monitor has come out. This is a look at last week's, where we had a moderate drought through parts of the high desert, about half of Crook County, most of Jefferson County, and parts of Deschutes County. This week, that has been expanded a little bit more, and a severe drought for parts of Crook and Jefferson counties, and moderate drought for all of Crook, all of Jefferson, and parts of Deschutes County. Now, we do need the rain, but good news is the last several days, we've had a little bit more for the southern half of our Tri-County area, to the point where you're seeing the blues start. That's double what we typically get this time of the year. Now, we still need more rain. We're still near normal for the last 365 days, and today some thunderstorm activity is expected mostly during the afternoon and evening hours. We started off with some sprinkles on the map, but some thunderstorms are already starting to develop, especially over south central Oregon, where we're already getting some of that thunderstorm activity that's propagating this way. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. And this evening, we're going to be live for day 2 of the Deschutes County Fair and Rodeo. We'll see you then.